Have you ever wondered what it's like to live in complete darkness and silence? To navigate the world without sight or sound? It's a reality most of us can barely imagine. Yet, one woman not only lived in this world but conquered it, becoming a celebrated author, activist, and inspiration to millions. Her name was Helen Keller. Today, we redive into the incredible story of how she wrote more than a dozen books and countless articles, all without the ability to see her words or hear them spoken. How did she do it? The answer is a testament to the power of the human spirit, unwavering determination, and the profound connection between a teacher and her student. Helen Keller's journey into the world of language began with a single, transformative moment. At 6 years old, she was a wild, frustrated child, trapped in a world she couldn't understand. Everything changed when a young teacher named Anne Sullivan entered her life. Anne's first breakthrough came at a water pump. As cool water flowed over one of Helen's hands, Anne spelled the word W-A into the other. Suddenly, Helen made the connection. This fingerspelling was a name for the cool liquid. That single spark of understanding ignited a wildfire of learning. Helen later described it as her soul's awakening. From that day on, her world began to expand. She eagerly learned the names of everything around her. Her mind finally unlocked from its silent prison. This manual alphabet, where each letter is formed by a specific hand shape pressed into the palm, became her primary way of communicating and, eventually, her first tool for writing. So, she could communicate. But how do you go from spelling words into a hand to writing a book? The first step was learning to read. But how do you read without seeing? The answer was Braille. Anne Sullivan taught Helen to read raised dots with her fingertips. This was a slow, painstaking process. Imagine tracing every single letter of every single word with your fingers. But Helen's thirst for knowledge was unstoppable. She devoured books in Braille, her mind absorbing stories, ideas, and different writing styles. This was her literary education. She read the works of Shakespeare, the Bible, and classic literature, all through the tips of her fingers. This deep immersion in literature gave her a rich vocabulary and a sophisticated understanding of language and storytelling, forming the foundation of her own future writing. She wasn't just reading words, she was feeling the rhythm and structure of sentences, building a mental library of prose that would later shape her own unique voice. With reading conquered, the next challenge was writing itself. How could she put her own thoughts onto paper? Her first method was a special tool called a grooved writing board, or a script board. This was a simple but ingenious device. It was a wooden board with horizontal grooves carved into it, kind of like perfectly straight ruts. A piece of paper was placed over the board. By pressing down with a pencil, Helen could feel the grooves through the paper, which guided her hand to write in a straight line. Her letters were squarish and had to be formed with deliberate, practiced motions. It was slow and required immense concentration, but it worked. For the first time, she could independently write her thoughts down for others to read. This was a monumental step towards becoming an author. It gave her the freedom to draft her ideas, compose letters, and practice her prose without needing someone to transcribe for her every moment. As technology advanced, so did Helen's writing process. She eventually moved on to a typewriter. But not just any typewriter. She used a standard typewriter, but her connection to it was purely tactile. She memorized the position of every key, her fingers knowing exactly where to fly across the keyboard. Can you imagine typing an entire book without ever seeing the screen or the page? She couldn't see if she made a typo. She couldn't see where she was on the page. She had to rely on her memory of the text, her spatial awareness of the keyboard, and an incredible amount of focus. Later, she embraced the Braille typewriter, also known as a Braille. This machine was specifically designed to punch Braille dots onto heavy paper. This was a game changer. For the first time, Helen could not only write her own text, but also read it back herself, immediately. She could edit her work, revise sentences, and rearrange paragraphs, all independently. This gave her an unprecedented level of authorial control and was crucial in the writing of her many books, including her famous autobiography, The Story of My Life. Now, you might be thinking, even with these tools, writing is a collaborative process for many authors, and for Helen, collaboration was absolutely essential. Anne Sullivan was more than just her teacher. She was her editor, her research assistant, and her bridge to the sighted and hearing world. Their process was a remarkable partnership. Helen would type out a manuscript on her Braille typewriter. Then, Anne would read the Braille manuscript and learn Braille to communicate more effectively with Helen and would read it aloud or retype it on a standard typewriter. They would discuss the content, word choices, and structure. Anne would offer suggestions, point out areas that needed clarification, and help Helen refine her ideas. But make no mistake, the voice, the thoughts, and the soul of the writing were entirely Helen's. Anne's role was to help polish the work and make it accessible, not to create it. After Anne's health declined, a new companion, Polly Thompson, stepped in to continue this vital role. This collaborative spirit was a key ingredient in Helen's literary success. So let's piece it all together. How did a full book come to life? It started with an idea, born from Helen's unique experiences, her extensive reading, and her passionate advocacy. She would spend countless hours organizing her thoughts, structuring the narrative in her mind. Then came the physical act of writing. She would sit at her Braille writer, her fingers flying across the keys, translating the intricate world of her thoughts into a tangible form of raised dots. Page after page, she would produce a manuscript that only she and a few others could read. This was her first draft. Next came the crucial editing phase with an Polly. Her collaborator would read the Braille text, and together they would refine the language, check for clarity, and ensure the message was powerful and precise. This back-and-forth process might take weeks or even months. Finally, the edited manuscript would be typed up on a standard typewriter and sent to the publisher. From the silent, dark world of one woman's mind to a printed book that could be shared with the entire world. It was an extraordinary journey for every single page. What's truly amazing is that Helen Keller didn't just write about her own life. While her autobiography, The Story of My Life, is her most famous work, she was a prolific author on a wide range of subjects. She wrote about social issues, women's suffrage, and politics. She wrote about her spiritual beliefs in my religion. She wrote about her travels and her philosophical outlook on life in books like The World I Live In. Her writing wasn't just a description of her experience of disability. It was a powerful commentary on the human condition. She used her unique perspective to offer profound insights that resonated with people from all walks of life. She proved that physical limitations could not limit the power of the mind or the reach of one's voice. She refused to be defined by what she could undo and instead focused on what she could contribute to the world through her words. The story of how Helen Keller wrote her books is more than just a tale of technical ingenuity with Braille writers and script boards. It is a profound story about the limitless potential of the human mind and the incredible power of communication. She reminds us that the most significant barriers we face are often the ones we create for ourselves. Her ability to translate her rich inner world into prose that could inspire millions is one of the most powerful literary feats of all time. She wasn't just writing books, she was building bridges of understanding between her world and ours. So the next time you pick up a book, think of Helen Keller. Think of her fingers dancing across a Braille writer, pouring her soul onto the page, proving that a story, a truly powerful story, can overcome any obstacle